On January 27th of 2019, my mother, my aunt, and I all boarded a plane and went to Idaho to visit my grandmother and my Uncle Sean. I had never been to Idaho and knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to interview what I would consider the most interesting woman in the world, my grandmother, Carolyn Fulton. The following video will have minimal edits and almost no annotations. I wanted this to feel like you're just having a regular conversation with her, because I feel like that's when she shines best, is when she's captivating a room of friends and family. Now sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy this interview with Carolyn Fulton. Good job. All right. First question. Who is Carolyn Fulton?
That depends on what stage of life I'm in, because I hope that I've changed over the years. As a child, I was shy in the extreme, and it was really hard to stand up for myself, ever. So I went underground a lot with my parents.
Underground? Underground?
Underground, like once they bought me some pumps that I really loved, and I waited until everybody was out of the house. I was about 4th grade, and when they were all gone, I put my pumps on, and I walked uptown in them and back, and no one ever knew.
Oh my gosh,
that's how I handle that sometimes. Not a good way. Currently, I think I'm all consumed with the long road back to recovery after an AFib episode and pacemaker and ablation.
That's a good answer. All right. What kind of music did you like to listen to as a kid?
You know, I hate to say this, but the only time I ever listened to music was when at my neighbor's house, and she played classical music all the time.
Oh.
So
which composers?
That was it, except for dance music, because I took ballet and modern dance and a lot of other similar dances.
How long were you doing ballet for?
I'm sorry?
How long were you doing ballet for?
Oh, maybe six years. That takes a lot of discipline.
Oh,
I didn't have it.
My sister did ballet once, and it's not easy. All right. What kind of games or sports did you like to play? Did you like to play any growing up or as an adult?
Well, in grade school it was dodgeball, mostly.
Yeah. And
not many team sports. I never was on a team, official team, until probably my late 40s or 50s. And then I was on a speed skating team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wasn't great.
Hey, important thing is you tried, right?
Yeah, and I rode my bike almost all the time. And the rest of the time I was taking dance lessons, I think. Well, and I used to play at tennis until
Did you ever play badminton?
Yes. We had a badminton set, and we took the hose and made a court out of it, and that worked pretty good. We played on the grass.
I remember growing up and you playing croquet a lot, too.
Yes, we had a croquet set, and we put it in the backyard. We played that a lot.
What got you first into croquet? What got you into croquet in the first place?
Well, I think everybody had a croquet set in those days.
Yeah.
And they just played it whenever they wanted, yeah.
A friend or a family member got you into it?
Yeah, they all played it.
That's good.
And then friends.
Let's see. Ooh, here's one I like. What do you think inspired your love of artwork and more specifically paper dolls?
Oh, with paper dolls, I can't remember. I started collecting them at about the age of 5, and I had a huge box, and I would make houses for them out of temporary building stuff, and use all my scarves for decoration in the house, and I spent a lot of time doing that in my leisure time. And I guess I was a tomboy, because we had an area in Tulsa where there were a lot of roots of trees showing where there was erosion. So we used to swing on those and pretend we were Tarzan, or Tarzan substitute.
I bet that was adorable.
It was fun.
It's funny that you used to make the temporary doll houses for your paper dolls. I did the same thing when I was a child.
Did you?
Yep, I would find stuff lying around the house like saran wrap, scarves, pieces of cardboard.
Yeah.
And I would make doll houses for my just mishmash of hodgepodge of toys I would have.
Yeah.
It was the funnest way to roll.
So, anyway, I kept on collecting them. And then when I was in 7th grade, a good friend and I had this game that we played. We had a card for each doll, paper doll, and we gave them a name and a background. And we pretended they were in a market for jobs. So we had a complete repertoire on each doll. That was kind of fun. And then my mother made me throw them away when I was in the 8th grade. So
yeah, I think we've all gone through that at some point when you're a creative, free person and someone tries to take it away from you.
Yeah, but now I collect them again.
Yeah, you got it
I have
back
a whole
over
box
the years.
of them, yeah.
My whole life I've known you as Grandma Paper Doll. I didn't even know your actual name until I was about 12. I just thought you were Grandma Paper Doll.
I think probably I made more for Daisy, didn't I, than you?
Yeah, because I didn't get to see you quite as much, but you did still make me some really cute paper dolls.
Yeah, I used to try to...
You sent me a few cute paper doll sets when I was younger, too.
Yeah, I remember that with pleasure.
Yeah, I enjoyed those quite a bit, too. I'm glad that you managed to keep that throughout your whole life. Even if there was, like, a period in your life without it, you know? So what are some other types of artwork you'll enjoy? I noticed there's a really nice painting right above you there.
Well, my career started when I was 5, and I went to the park, and they were having an art class. It was a contest, and you had to draw a horse with either, I guess, charcoal. So I grabbed a piece and a paper, and I drew it, and I won.
Good job.
It was amazing, yeah. So that started my career. I'm not very good, but I just love it. I was always drawing whenever I had a pencil in my hand when I was growing up.
Do you consider yourself more of an illustrator or a drawer or a painter more?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you consider yourself more of a painter or an illustrator?
Probably painter. I dabbled in acrylics. I dabbled in oils, but the turpentine bothered me.
Yeah.
So I dabbled in acrylics and in chalk. Not watercolor, because I never could correct my mistakes with the watercolor.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to do watercolor sometimes.
So I still draw in my leisure time, but really not painting anymore.
What's your favorite medium to work in?
I think I like charcoal and chalks.
Yeah, charcoal's real free feeling.
That's my favorite.
I like to work in graphite and ink.
Do you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a lot of pencils. I like them too.
Yeah. Have you ever used something called Copic markers?
Called what?
Copic markers. They're alcohol-based markers.
No, I haven't.
I use those a lot. They work really well because you can layer them.
Oh, really?
You can lay down a light blue and then use the same marker, make a darker blue and a darker blue.
Oh, really?
You can use hand sanitizer to pick them back up.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have so many to start with.
No, yeah, as long as you have the base colors, you're good. All right, let's see. What's this? Oh, here we go. What's the most fulfilling job you've ever had? I know you had many different jobs throughout your life. So what was your favorite one of all of them?
Oh, gee. My first job after let's see. Okay, for 18 years I taught Spanish and English in high school. That was very satisfying.
Okay.
And I ran a language lab and language department. And I found that really, well, I threw everything I had into my students. So I was really popular. And then I kind of found myself and stopped doing that. Took care of myself, and I wasn't so popular anymore.
Yeah, that happens. So you think that was your favorite job, or?
Oh, they're all favorites. I love that. I wouldn't do it now, but I loved it. But I always wanted to be a dietitian, but I was afraid of chemistry. So when I found out that they had a rinky-dink chemistry for dietetic students, I entered that program, and I took a shortcut because I already had one degree, and so I got that degree in dietetics, and then I did a 6-month internship at the hospital here in town, plus a master's in education. With those two, I took my boards in dietetics, and at that time I was working at the country club. That was all right. And then I had just consulting jobs for a while. One really interesting one was testing for HIV at the health department.
Yeah.
And this nurse in the other room, she'd always rush in and say, Did you wear rubber gloves?
Was this in the 80s and 90s? Or was this in the 80s and 90s?
This was at the health department.
Yeah, was it set around the 1980s and 90s, or during the AIDS scare?
It was later, I think.
A little bit later, 90s?
Yeah. And I loved it. I loved being at the reservation.
What kind of reservation?
What?
Was it a Native American reservation or a different kind?
It was Bannock Shoshone.
Oh, okay.
Reservation. And it was so varied. I was tribal nutritionist, so I got to do a lot of food experimentation with commodity foods and a lot of other things. And I was WIC nutritionist, so that was interesting, working with children and on and on. And we had a really good supervisor who trained 5 of us or sent us for training in aerobics so we could be certified. And then she sent us to Bellevue, Washington, for training in EGO training. That's the Native American aerobic training. So that was a heady experience and a lot of fun. Where did I go next? Well, State Hospital South. I was 5 years there, and I was a junior cook. And I loved that because everything was so organized. And you knew what was going to happen. No big surprises sprung on you. And then I went to the senior center. And
you were there for a long time.
Yeah, and I spent a number of years there really happy. So I got to do theme meals, which is my big thing. That's always fun.
How many years did you work for them? How many years did you work for them?
About 18.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, almost 19.
That's longer than most people stay at any job.
Yeah, everybody was saying, well, when are you going to retire? And so I thought, if anyone else asks me that, I'm going to make up something outrageous.
When heck freezes over, huh?
Yeah.
So what made you finally retire? Was it health or something else?
Health.
A little bit of
Yeah.
health?
I had to have a pacemaker put in and an ablation. So I was virtually bedbound for 3 months, almost. And so now I'm on my long road back to recovery.
Well, we hope to make a speedy recovery.
Oh, I hope so too. Yeah.
We'll do everything we can to help you. Alright, let's see, what's next? Here we go. I heard that you've done some... here we go. What's the most amazing place you've ever been? I know you've traveled to many different countries, especially in Scandinavia. What was your most amazing place you ever saw?
Well, it's apples and oranges because I went to Central America 2 different times on a volunteers in mission, and that was kind of a passion for me. And I got to be the interpreter.
Yeah, tell me a bit about that. How was your mission work? What kind of stuff did you do?
Well, we were supposed to go pick potatoes in Nicaragua, but the Hurricane Joan had just devastated everything. So one of our members got sick and was in the hospital in a couple of different places. So we got to see a lot of the medical places. We got to go to they have a vet hospital. It's really great in Managua. And every poor guy that's in their program for rehab, they have a half-hour obstacle course, and they have to do that before they get breakfast.
Oh,
that's interesting. And then they have a prosthetics plant that was one of the best in the world. So that was interesting. They had a boot with a peg stuck in it and glued to the bottom of the top of the sole. And they said this man walked on the boot all the way down the mountain, I don't know how many miles, so he could visit the prosthetics factory and see if he could get a foot. So I picked it up, and just in I'm afraid of cockroaches. Only thing that turned it off.
Yeah, me too.
So this giant cockroach crawled out of this boot, which had dried blood inside it.
Oh, gross.
So that was, and they went into the mountains, and I slept on a bag of rice hulls with a dirt floor.
Oh my!
And I got bed bugs.
Oh, that's not fun.
Yeah, I know it was. And then then we went to Guatemala, and then not Costa Rica, Honduras. And so we were supposed to meet someone at the refugee camp there. So I called them, and I was using my best Spanish. I knew I was saying the right thing. And she kept saying, "I don't know anything about this." So I finally had to give up. And later we found out that they were afraid to come meet us. It would have been dangerous.
Why? What would have happened, or what were they afraid of?
Repercussions from the government. So that was, and then the next time I went to Guatemala, Chichicastenango, for 2 weeks, and we were supposed to be building an encampment, but I couldn't help because my arms are too short. So I got to cook.
Story of my life.
Yeah, that was a dirt floor, coals, and I never learned to make tortillas right. But the interesting thing was that I had picked we had a fundraiser for the Guatemala trip, and I picked this pollo de... Well, it has different names, but it's the national dish of Guatemala. I didn't even know it then, but that's what we had. And then the first meal we made was that in the kitchen when I was helping. So that was quite a coincidence. But Norway was just a sweeping experience. It's just it's a clean country, organized.
Was it cold when you went there?
We were there in June.
So it was nice and warm?
Midsummer, yeah. Well, no, yeah, in the middle of the day it was cool. It was okay. But it was cool at night. So that was an unforgettable experience there. We stayed at a dance academy. It was a folk dance tour. And then we stayed with their premier folk dancer of Norway at her academy. So we had incredible experiences there.
Was this for the mission work as well, or for fun?
No, just folk dance tour.
Ah, okay.
So a friend partially bankrolled us because she didn't want to go alone.
Ah.
So she bankrolled me and another friend. So we were lucky.
That's good. So what kind of stuff did you get to do in Norway? I've seen a lot of pictures of you hugging trolls over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had 3 pictures. One was with Edvard Grieg, who's about 5 feet tall, like me. And then I had one with the troll.
The big one?
And then I had another one with... In Bergen, there's a shopping center, and Obama was very popular there. So they had a bench right in front with a wax figure of really, really realistic of Obama sitting like this. So I took a picture there.
I bet that was fun.
Yeah.
Do you need
But
to take
in
a
the
break?
end, I decided to use the troll because
You
I
like
thought
big
it was...
boys?
Yeah, I didn't want to not be able to show the pictures.
Yeah. Do you need some water?
No, I don't. Okay.
Alright, just checking. If you need a break or anything, let me know. Alright. So what's some other countries you went to?
Was it another what?
What's some other countries you went to that really impacted you?
Other countries?
Yeah, that really stood out to you.
Well, all right. Once we went to Canada when we were at the Eagle training
Was that the
in
trip to
Bellevue,
Toronto?
Washington, huh?
Was that the trip to Toronto you took this year, or a different
No,
one?
no, that was a long
Different
time ago.
Ah, you can tell me.
So there were 5 of us, and the Native Americans got across easily, but there was some problem with me. So we drove away, and they went through this little ceremony that made me a blood sister. And then we came back, and then they said we were all related. So
How did they make you their blood sister? Was there a ceremony? They didn't.
well, pretend blood, no.
Okay, I was about to say, I hope they didn't cut your hand open.
No. So and then another time, I went to Canada with my older son, and we spent the
Was
week
that
on
Donnie or was that Sean?
Don.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we spent the week in Victoria, and that was a fun city. We wandered around. There was a Chinese area, Chinese village, and we went down in a submarine to watch some kind of show. It was really oppressive. The humidity.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was my only unpleasant experience there. So, I think that's all the countries I've been to.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then. I know you've been a cook from the day you were born, pretty much. What's the best meal you've ever eaten or baked or cooked, do you think? Like, what meal, of all the recipes, meals you've made or eaten, which ones have really stood out for you?
I think probably my spaghetti is the best that I've ever fixed. And we had this bookkeeper who was from second generation Italian, and she said, "Why are you not using green olives? That's unheard of." So I started chopping them up and using them, and it added a lot.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
So
I've had green olives, but usually I put them on the side or on a topping.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I just threw them in to simmer
delicious.
for a while.
That sounds delicious. I love olives.
Yeah, I think that's one of my best
spaghetti
dishes. Mm-hmm. And then we have a place called the Stanrod House in Pocatello, and people used to have weddings there, so we catered some weddings. That was really fun. My catering partner, we assembled it on her dining room table, but we couldn't do it at once because it had 3 tiers and 9 layers.
Oh, my.
And then it had about 1,000 flowers with a vine going around like that. So we had to turn the heat off. It was in December.
Oh, my.
I know. That was bad for her. I was glad it was her house and not mine.
Yeah.
So.
Those are most the ones that stand out the most?
What?
Those stand out the most to you, huh? What's the worst meal you've ever had?
The worst meal? Oh, my goodness. I think it was at a facility or institution.
When you were in the
facility,
hospital?
I guess. Like a hospital.
Yeah, they can be pretty bad.
I think, this was a long time ago. But for Thanksgiving dinner, they had a shredded potato casserole.
Ooh.
So no gravy. Mm-mm. And turkey, but no cranberry sauce. And, I don't know, some kind of dessert, but it didn't have anything to do with Thanksgiving.
A completely mismatched meal with bland flavors and nothing to moisten it?
Right, yeah.
Oh, that sounds traumatizing. The worst meal I ever had was at this place called Bella Roma. It was an authentic Italian place.
Oh, really?
It was disgusting. Their salads were pre-cut up and been sitting for a while. The calzone I got was bleached flour puff pastry. Not even puff, wrapped around a thing of cold cheese.
Oh.
Powdered cheese.
Powdered cheese?
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, my. Yeah,
it was so bad, I started crying halfway through the meal, and I gave him my resume.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, please hire a real chef. Their spaghetti was horrible. It tasted like dog food.
Oh.
Yeah, they're still open.
They
somehow.
Are? Uh-huh.
They're considered the best Italian place in my own hometown, and I'm like, they are the worst I've ever had.
Oh, my.
My school cafeteria did better at spaghetti than they did. It's funny that you said your favorite dish you made was spaghetti. That's one of my specialties, too.
Is it? Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, I make a South Texas style one.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, I put a little bit of Camino and chili in it.
I think I put a little chili in mine.
I'll definitely try the olive thing, though.
Oh, they're really good, yeah. If you like a green olive.
I love olives, all of them. Let's see, do you have any regrets or little things you wish you could do over in your life?
Do I what?
Any regrets or things you wish you could do over?
Ooh. Do I have any regrets? Yeah, that I never got to meet Jimmy Carter.
I know. I regret that too.
That's one regret.
Yeah. Everything else, you don't think you'd change anything?
And I never got to study biochemistry.
Ah. Well, it's never too late.
Well, no, it isn't.
Yeah, you can always learn a little bit about it.
Yeah, so that's...
Hey, that's a pretty good short list of regrets.
Well, thank you.
Hey, a lot less than I have. Let's see, alright, this one, a lot of people in our family wanted to know. What do you know, or what can you tell us about your biological mother and your biological father?
I can't tell you much about my biological father. He was killed when I was about 6 in a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
He was delivering for a pharmacy and someone ran a red light. So I don't know. I just know he was part Cherokee.
Do you have any memories of him, or is it a little too far
Not
back?
very many. He lived in a different town.
Were your mother and father married, or were they separated?
They were separated.
Ah, that makes sense.
And then my mother got married again when I was 10. So that's all I know. Yeah. Oh, no, I do have a good story.
All right.
My great-grandmother, she was Shawnee, and full-blood Shawnee, and she married my great-grandfather, and he was in the Civil War, some war. I'm a bad historian.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of that stuff about it in writing a lot of times.
So when my grandfather was born, I have a picture of her on a horseback with the baby, and she rode horseback 300 miles to show him to his dad.
My God, that's amazing. Is there anything you can talk about your biological mother? Or?
She was raised in Mississippi, and my grandfather.
Did you need some water?
Huh?
Did you need some water?
No, I'm good.
All right, just checking.
So my grandfather was a horse and buggy doctor, and
that's just my grandmother's friend getting up and moving for a second. Continue.
And he had 2 sons that moved to Tulsa and Bristow, which is not very far away. And one built a hospital and worked there in Bristow, the other one in Tulsa. So they decided to immigrate to Tulsa. And yeah, he was very happy. My whole family lived at my uncle's hospital in Tulsa. And I went back and forth a lot from Bristow to Tulsa because I was visiting my dad occasionally, and I sometimes stayed with my uncle, he was a family physician, and then my uncle in Tulsa was an orthopedic surgeon.
I've heard a lot of different stories throughout my life about, because I keep hearing people mention biological parents and then your other parents. I wasn't entirely sure what happened. Were you adopted? Nobody's really told me anything.
Oh, no. My mother was 16 when she was pregnant with me. And so my grandmother made her, she didn't get to miss one day of school that year. And I was born in August. And so my grandparents, we lived with them, so they kind of raised me.
So they were your grandparents?
And my mother worked. Yeah, but she was young, so she did all the things that actually maybe a sister would have done. She went horseback riding with me. She took dance classes at the same place that I did. She played badminton with me.
She was more like a big sister at times, huh?
Yeah, because she was just 16 years older than...
Yeah.
So, that's... No, I was not adopted.
All right, I didn't know. I misheard a few different things. I wanted to get the story straight. All right, so that makes sense. That happens to a lot of people, when you have the very young parents. All right, let's see. What else could we ask you? Did you want to talk about any of your siblings?
What?
Your siblings.
I only have one. My stepfather was her father. And she was born when I was 14. So I took a lot of joy in babysitting her. I just adored her.
What was her name?
Marbeth.
Marbeth?
She was named after Margaret, one grandmother, and Elizabeth, the other grandmother.
Oh,
so
that's
it became
adorable.
Marbet.
Yeah. Is she still alive, or?
My mother?
No, your sister.
Oh, my sister. Yes, she tutors French and substitutes in French and Spanish in the Tulsa schools.
Oh, that's cool.
She's retired.
She's not too far away then, huh?
Tulsa.
Wait, which state is Tulsa again?
Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. I figured there's a few different cities.
It's kind of far. Yeah.
Yeah. Could be further, but it's still a little far.
Yeah.
I'm glad she's still alive and well. Let's see, have you ever met anyone famous?
Famous? Let's see.
Other than Jimmy Carter. Not yet, maybe one day.
I know. I probably not. I've seen some Hollywood stars.
Uh-huh. Met him in person?
Mostly at Sun Valley from a distance.
Ooh.
But no, not really.
Hey, fame is only, it's a concept of popular culture, so.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, what makes us famous? Just how many people know you, your net worth,
Yeah.
I mean, by the end of this, you'll be pretty famous. In fact, before this, you're pretty famous because I know a lot of people that know and love you.
Thank you.
Yep, I've told people stories about you since I was a little kid.
Uh-oh.
All good ones. Mostly about how cute you are.
Yeah. I'm grateful.
And I hope to keep telling your stories forever.
All right. Thank you.
I want to tell your stories when I'm 103.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see. Who's your favorite author? Who's your favorite book author?
Favorite what?
Your favorite book author.
Ooh. I like, I like it. There's so many. It's hard to narrow them down.
You can give me your top few.
The top two?
The top couple of them. A couple of few you like.
Ooh. I can't narrow them down. Too many. I like Robin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
What
have they written? What book did they write?
I like, I don't remember the author, but the Tea House stories, because they're about food.
Of course, yeah, I like those kind too.
Yeah.
Continue. Do you have any book recommendations for anyone?
Have any what?
Some book recommendations.
Kingfishers Catch Fire. Mm-hmm. Is one of my favorites. Let's see. I can't think.
Yeah, I know. You get the deer in the headlight thing when you think of your favorite books or something. I get that a lot.
Rimmer Godden is one of my favorites, and I like all of hers. So, she had one that was made into a movie about Italy.
Was it the Eat, Pray, Love book, or was that the Eat, Pray, Love one, or is that the other one? Was that Eat, Pray, Love, or was that a different one?
No, that's different.
Okay.
Yeah, I like her too.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Similar question. What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Gone with the Wind.
That is a good one.
Yeah. And then there was a sequel to it, Scarlet.
Oh.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm. You like those kind of old romance type movies, right?
Some.
Yeah.
But I like mysteries, I think, better.
Ooh.
So.
Hey, good taste. Do you have a favorite animated film?
No.
Now you can think of it at the moment.
Mm.
My favorite is one called Spirited Away, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lovely movie that's set in a Japanese bathhouse, and it has dragons and Japanese yokai or spirit in it.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it's a lovely story. There's a little girl. She gets stuck on the other side of it, and she's just trying to get her parents out of there. they ate so much food in the spirit world that they turned into pigs.
Oh, no.
And she has to save them before they get eaten.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's a restaurant and a hotel.
That sounds wild.
It's a really fun movie. The artwork's beautiful, and it shows a scene where it's a bunch of chefs, like 30 chefs in one kitchen, all cooking together.
Oh, my.
And it's really fun to watch. You should definitely see it at some point.
Okay.
It's worth watching,
All right.
especially if you've worked in cooking and stuff for long.
Okay.
You might enjoy that kind of movie. All right. Think you'll ever get remarried?
Probably not.
All right, just checking. I know you're a pretty cute lady. Probably get any guy to like you pretty quickly.
Well, I think I'm a little too independent. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, she don't need no man.
Mhm.
All right. So you were in Toronto this past winter or this early fall, right?
Yeah.
What were you doing up in Toronto?
It was the Parliament of the World's Religions.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one in Salt Lake and decided that since it was on this continent again, 3 years later, I had to go to Toronto. So I signed up within months after the first one in Salt Lake for the next one.
What kind of stuff did you do there?
Well, they have plenaries where everyone meets together. They have themes, big themes, and a lot of workshops, like about 400 workshops. And, well, okay, so they have some dignitaries too. I met Jane Goodall.
Ooh.
She was in charge of a workshop.
So you have met someone famous.
Yeah.
So
That's
was
one.
she? Was she nice in real life, or?
Oh, yeah, the plenaries. So they have themes like climate control or climate change, Native American rights,
Mm-hmm.
women's rights, what else? I can't think of, those are big ones, though.
I know you said something about you got to eat and meet with a bunch of Sikhs.
What?
You got to eat and meet with Sikhs?
Oh, yeah, it was the Sikhs.
Mm-hmm.
S-I-K-H.
Yeah, the guys that wear the really lovely turbans and have that real nice beard.
Yes.
Carry the saber.
Yes.
They're really nice guys.
They started the lungar, which is a free meal, in the 16th century as a protest to the caste system in India. Mm-hmm. So they would offer a free meal to anybody that came, and they would sit down in a row, facing each other, and the people that were serving walk in between, and they are very unusual in that when they are preparing their food, and it's all volunteers, they either chant or pray or sing hymns. That's kind of unusual.
Sounds fun, though.
And here they use styrofoam, but in a lot of other countries they use big metal plates, and it's a vegetarian meal. And they wash the plates 3 times to make sure they're clean. Yeah. So they're very unusual.
It sounds amazing, though. It must have been quite an experience.
It was, and the point of seating everyone on the floor is so you're all equal, and if you're not sitting with someone else, they'll place you anywhere. So wow. You could be sitting by a pauper or king, which is their point.
Yeah, that we're all equal.
Yeah, so.
That sounds like it must have been a lot of fun. Sorry it must have got cut short a bit, because I know you got a bit sick afterwards.
Yeah, I did.
That's when you had the surgery shortly after.
I didn't do as much this time.
Yeah.
But we, another woman and I attended a workshop in which some Sikhs had the workshop to show people how they could put on a lungar and still keep the spirit of the Sikhs. And so we're going to try to do that in 6 months. If I get
Think you'll
well.
go again if you're feeling better?
What?
Think you'll go again if you're feeling better?
maybe. I hope so.
Hoping. Winter's almost over, so it might be easier to get better then.
Yeah.
It's hard to get well in the winter. All right, is there any other little stories you wanted to throw in? Stories of your children?
Do you want another story?
Go for it. You can tell stories of your children, of your childhood, college, just anything you want to throw in for this video.
My uncle was an orthopedic surgeon. His son is an orthopedic surgeon. His son's daughter is an orthopedic surgeon.
Wow.
Anyway, Jerry, who was pre-med, that's his son, my uncle's son, and he was at the hospital with his dad, and his dad said, "Come get into the elevator with me, I have something to tell you." And then he said, "I'm in cardiac arrest, and this is exactly what's wrong, and I have 15 minutes to live." So they rode up to the doctor's lounge on the top floor, and he gave him all these last-minute instructions, and then died.
Oh my.
So.
That's crazy.
That's it.
That's a lot of orthopedic surgeons in the family, though.
Yeah.
I guess you could say feet run in the family.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's a crazy story. Got any stories you want to tell about your children?
Oh, my children.
Bet you got some interesting stories about your daughter Carolyn and Pat.
Well, all right. There's a funny story about Diane. Carolyn Diane. Donnie, his oldest boy, was trying to find her, and she was hiding on the roof. And so she watched him. Diane was extremely fastidious. So Don looked in the doghouse for her, and she was so outraged that she made a little noise, and he saw her on the roof. And she was outraged that he would think she would hide in a doghouse.
That's beneath her.
So.
Did she have a ladder up there, or?
Yeah, she had a ladder.
Yeah, I heard that she, when Donnie came to try to get her, she kicked the ladder down or something, or pulled it up.
Well, he probably wasn't going to climb the ladder because one of his hands is like a hook. So he only has one hand to climb with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but they're all wonderful children.
I bet. Got any stories you want to share about Sean?
Oh, he is the best son you could ever have.
I know. I met him recently, and he was so cool.
Yeah, he was. He went through a long. No, I don't want to tell that part. Anyway, when he finally got his life together, he was working in construction, and even got to be the foreman some, and do blueprints, and draw diagrams and plans and things, and he loved it. But he was on a 5-story building in Washington, and the safety fence wasn't there. It hit you behind your head, and he had his harness on, but they'd closed the girders the night before and didn't get that information across to anyone else, so there was no place to hook into.
Oh my.
So he didn't have the safety fence or that, so he stepped off the 5-story building.
Ooh, is that how he got injured, or?
Yeah, so he's a paraplegic, but he's adjusted. He monoskied for a long time. I always went to the top of Pebble Creek. It was pretty high. He went on whitewater trips. Plays, they have basketball games, handicap, and all the coaches have to be in wheelchairs too, and they're not used to it, so they usually lose.
Sounds like he's had a really full life even after the accident.
He does, yeah.
If not more of a full life.
Yes, he does.
I've described him to many people, even before I met him, as he's my paraplegic daredevil uncle that's living his fullest life.
Yeah.
That seemed like a pretty good way to describe him. He's also a bit of a mountain man, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, with a beard.
Yeah. Lives up in the mountains and has a pig.
Yeah.
What's his pig's name again?
Flash.
Like Flash Gordon?
Well, maybe, I don't know if my son knows who Flash Gordon is.
Maybe.
But it was Flash because he's the opposite. He's supposed to be a pot-bellied pig, but he weighs just 300 pounds.
Oh my.
So that's why he named him Flash.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I heard it was because he was fast when he was still a puppy.
Yeah.
Then he got big and slow.
Yeah, Sean would never have adopted him if he knew he was going to be that big.
Yeah, that's a small horse at that point.
It is. And Sean can't get him into a trailer, so
Wow.
the vets have to make house calls. And that's kind of pricey.
Hello, boy. This is my grandmother's dog down here. He just wanted to say hello.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the star.
Mm-hmm.
You have any stories you want to tell about Pat?
Oh, Pat. She was a wonderful child. Not rebellious like Diane. In fact, Diane, she always talked to people, grown-ups, as if she were a grown-up.
Pat did or Diane
No,
did?
Diane.
Ah.
But Pat was the opposite. So she was a joy. But Diane was interesting in her own way.
She was definitely a free spirit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mom was always a real big free spirit. Oh, hello. Hello there, Neptune. You wanted to be part of the show.
Yeah, I guess she did.
Yeah. Hi, Neptune. All right. Got any stories you want to share about Donnie?
Donnie? Yeah. He has some brain damage. And one thing is when he was young, he didn't distinguish between what he said and what he thought.
The filter
So
was
his
a little off.
first grade teacher was a fashion freak, and she came into the class perfectly coiffed, and he said, "What are you doing in here, you old goat?"
Oh, my.
And so we didn't find out that story, what happened, for a long time.
Oh, my.
We just knew that she said she couldn't have him in first grade
Oh, my. That's
because he
crazy.
was not controllable. But it worked out. He had special training all those years and really sound training in phonics and mathematics. So he does quite well in many ways. He
All
can
the animals wanted to come say hello.
he can do metric in his head.
Yeah,
And,
he's a brilliant guy from what I've seen.
yeah, he can do a lot of things.
Any other little stories you want to share about your children or anything you want to tell them?
Ouch.
Ooh, careful, Katie.
Um,
Sorry about that.
I think that's all the stories I have.
For right now, huh? Alright, anything you want to tell them directly?
Tell them what?
Anything you want to tell your children or your grandchildren directly?
Oh, yes. I think you're all adorable, and I wouldn't trade you for anything. Every one of you.
Even to meet Jimmy Carter?
Even to sacrifice that, yeah.
Alright, everybody. This has been Carolyn, Paper Doll Fulton, and this is just a little peek into the life that she's lived. Hopefully she has many more stories to come. And I hope she gets a speedy recovery, and I just wanted the whole world to know just how adorable she is. This woman is definitely the most interesting woman in the world.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Alright. Love you, Grandma.
Love you too. That it?
Yep.
Oh.